Hello. Uh oh, do I have my microphone? I do. I do have my microphone on. Yay. Hi. Good afternoon or whatever time zone it happens to be for you when you watch this, friends. Um I'm back with some more prep stream. My brain is slowly, the cogs are turning. Exciting announcement. Drummer Boy has finished the official Desperate Gamble theme song, and I've listened to it maybe like half an hour before this. So we'll have that for tomorrow. I didn't feel like I should spoil it on the GM stream. Get ready for some space polka, y'all. But yeah, so if you wanna hear that, make sure you're there for the start of tomorrow's stream for sure. Excuse my slow start today. Yeah, so that's the big news. This is GM Prep episode 10. And I'm sort of thinking we're in a pretty good zone. There's a couple of things we need to think about, we need to address, but like they didn't get through all of our prep from last time. So there's still a little bit of like the current Imperial Remnant or not Imperial Remnant, but Imperial Ruin adventure still to do. They haven't managed to open the door into the like private, preserved area yet. Absolute side note, but how fucking awesome was it that we rolled on the random table for a Rancor to show up outside the place where Rancor stuff happened? That was like, ugh. The random table just working with me on that one. Yeah, that was a chef kiss moment. Yeah. I didn't want to game it. I could easily have just said there's a Rancor, but I wanted to see if they're like the random table would cooperate with me, but it's nice that it worked. The real problem is those Rancors are strong, and I really didn't want them to fight it. So I tried to lead them away from it, and I sort of let them go very easily. Which I think was kind of the smart move, given that like one turn of it having some actual slapping to do would be very bad for them. Yeah, it has a soak of 10, so I don't actually think they have a gun that can hurt it. For example. And it has a brawl skill of 2 yellows, 3 greens, so if it got in melee, it was gonna do some serious 12 damage as well at short range, not even at engaged range, at short range, because it's big. Yeah, it'd be really, really bad. The other thing is, you have to succeed an average resilience skill check or gain the disorient 3 condition just being near it, because it smells really bad. Basically, like, we didn't want them to touch it. It would have been really, really bad if they decided like, we're gonna fight the Rancor. I would have had to pull some shit. But yeah, that's fine. Flamethrower could have scared it off or something. They actually didn't take the flamethrower with them because encumbrance-wise it's too heavy. Nobody has the strength to carry it. Like, and the rest of their stuff. If they don't want to take encumbrance penalties. I feel like they actually chose not to bring it with them. Yeah, disorient 3 equals setback on all rolls for 3 turns. It would be bad. It would be a bad thing. Like, it just compounds badness. You know what I mean? Okay, so let's go over to our thing and give us a little gander. So we have our Imperial Ruins quest that we wrote up. So 4th floor, good. Inactive security systems. I changed some of this like on the fly because it just felt like better a certain way. And the other thing that we have in here that we didn't that we didn't mention is our droid RST3. So RST3 was where we ended the session last week. This is RST3. He's beautiful. Look at him. This art's done by Butt Prints, by the way. He's beautiful. He's a security droid. And I think that I'm trying to remember exactly where we ended, but I think we ended with a failed mechanics check to remove the restraining bolt. Yeah, Omni Brogbo's my last roll here is a mechanics check with no successes to remove the restraining bolt from RST3. I feel like the next thing that I have to do with RST3 is have him fight. Because they're trying to, like, tamper with the security droid. You know what I mean? And they failed to do it. So I feel like the next thing that I need to do is, like, roll initiative and have RST3 fight them. And if they want to, like, take him down non-lethally and then, like, get the restraining bolt off and whatever, like, I'm open to that sort of thing happening. I really want, I don't want them to necessarily, like, kill this droid. And I know that Andrew especially has some feelings about, like, droids as people, quote unquote. You know what I mean? And yeah, I think it's going to be like the kind of combat that's like a do not resist, like try and like grab one of them or like restrain them or something. And like set up a situation that would be bad for them. I'm trying to decide because there's a bunch of dead scavengers, and I'm trying to decide if RST3 is the one who killed them. You know what I mean? Like we have the narrative, the scavenger narrative of like one guy fell down the elevator shaft, whether he was pushed or not, we don't know. One guy was shot in the back by his friend because they were like near the treasure, you know what I mean? And you don't want to share, you don't want to cut in as many shares as possible. But then the last guy died against the door. And I'm trying to decide if I want it to be like the door is trapped like we initially planned, which was that like the door would be sort of like electrified, and that's why there wasn't. Oh no, I already mentioned that there isn't any growth on the door. Yeah, I already mentioned there wasn't any growth on the door, so probably the door has to be electrified. Or has to be in some way like powered or shielded, because there hasn't been any growth over it. Because I already said that. And I also mentioned that RST3 seemed to have been inactive for some time, which would suggest that he wasn't activated because the door wasn't threatened properly. You know what I mean? Like the trap killed whoever was touching it. The players have already figured out that it's trapped. If they could get RST3 not to fight them, or like non-lethally take him out and like get the restraining bolt off, bring him back, like try and reason with him a little bit, he'll know how to turn that trap off. You know what I mean? Like, because he is a security droid. So that's like one way that they can figure that out. The other ways are, of course, like the computer banks in the area, and like the terminals that they could get running again, and thus power down the trap, open the door, that kind of thing. So we've got a little bit of a scuffle to adjudicate before we get through the security door. RC's weapon could also be non-functional. Yeah, raises his arm to fire his blaster, and it doesn't work, or the power cells are dead or whatever, so he just starts like wrestling with them, like brawling. It's probably a good way to do it. I think narratively that makes sense. It's like he would be shooting you, but he can't. Kind of a thing. I have to respect that, like, The like restraining bolt situation basically means that he is forced to comply with the set of orders that he was given. You know what I mean? And yes, Andrew's like check to, throw a bunch of titles at them and try and like change that authority, right? Or what have you, kind of worked. But then they like actually messed with the droid. You know what I mean? Like tried to prize off a piece sort of thing. That's bad. So what if RST3 has like a stun baton attachment and a net launcher because shooting inside is bad? That's not bad. That's not a bad idea. Like, you don't want to shoot inside the lab, kind of thing. It might be worth, it might be worth doing like a stun baton, deployable stun baton from the wrist mount. Stun baton would also work with the whole caged rancor thing. Definitely true. Stun hand, yeah, like electro gauntlet. So we have to have that. We have to have that scuffle. Also there's the assassin vines. Yeah, the vines on the ceiling. Nobody made any inquiries as to them, but also I'm sort of willing to let them pass or not, depending on a perception check. I like the current threat is the droid. You know what I mean? And there are other possible ways we could introduce the assassin vines, but it's like at the time it felt like it wasn't worth ambushing the first person who came into the room. If you know what I mean? Like the corpses hadn't been messed with, so it felt a little weird. But yeah, I think there's still a possibility. They haven't messed with anything yet. Yeah, they haven't touched the gun turrets. They haven't touched the computer consoles. They haven't really like touched the table or anything. They did a little perception around the mushrooms there, the like weird, very neon blue glowing mushrooms. But other than that, like they haven't messed with anything. So I didn't want to like throw an assassin vine at them right away. If they here's what we'll do, Bud Prince. I think this is the good move. Is if they fail to negotiate with RST3 in any way, like they like take them out in a lethal fashion, what have you, then when they mess with the computer console, we'll have the assassin vines above them. You know what I mean? To try and like when they mess with the bank of computers, if they have to mess with the bank of computers, then we'll have the assassin vine situation go down. I think that's probably the way that we'll do that. Of course, the other stuff is that like inside the office, we already have like what they're gonna find. We've got our private untouched office, like the data chip, a map of Vode, which they didn't have before, which would be actually very helpful. It's not topographically updated, but it is. There's a map of Vode. The small shelf of salacious novels, binder of personal effects, and a mementos going back to the Clone War, and plans for cybernetic parts for an incredibly large creature. Yep. How much leeway is there in rebuilding droids that are destroyed? I don't really know the rules regarding it. I think it depends how they took the droid out. You know what I mean? You can replace parts, but if you've damaged too much of it, then there's only so much you can do. The other thing that we've said is that Imperial droid parts are fairly scarce, right? So like replacing something that is broken is like difficult for like Imperial pattern droids on Vode. Like specifically. The other thing is like, do we want to add in our like in our rewards here some sort of droid parts or droid stuff? Because I know that one of Mabel's motivations for coming down here was to find parts, right? Or find supplies. Because we have like the Bacta, which is huge. It's very, 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 very powerful. In terms of the amount of money it's worth. They'd have to figure out how to get it out there, but I think what we do is we have the functional data bank of computers and terminals with all sorts of possible records, though most restricted without a proper access code. Maybe this is where if Mabel wants to look through the data bank, we can link to a place where there may be like a droid supply depot or something. You know what I mean? It's the whole like you didn't get it this time, but you could get it like the next time sort of thing. Yeah, maybe we put another RST in there. Yeah, one that has been out of power for far too long. Their power dock does not work. Back to be traded for droid parts. I'm sure the Deveronian merchant from last episodes can smuggle droid parts. Yeah, and I mean the downed Imperial destroyer. If they find out that it exists, yeah, would have a lot of salvage, right? What was it? The Sunderer. The data chip that they're getting for Bouzak has the locational data and access codes for a crashed Imperial Star Destroyer Sunderer somewhere on the Vodian surface. I think also I'm gonna have them have to deal with some Zarglers on the way back up because we mentioned the nascent Zarglers on the way down. I feel like if they have to go back through the lobby, I'm gonna have some Zargler action. The Star Destroyer Tsundere. Yeah. No, Sunderer. Come on. Star Destroyer Tsundere would be different. Yes, give Zyle a Zargler. I mean, I'm gonna attack Zyle with Zargler for sure. Star Destroyer Ulu. Come on, chat. Don't do this to me. Okay, so cool. We've got a couple of ideas for what we've got. For the actual like base, which I like. That's good. We have to close that out as a thing. The RST is a droid class I made up for the pun, by the way, so make up whatever you want. There's no real canon. The art is based on a real droid, but it's not super accurate. No, that's good. There's all kinds of classes of droids we don't know about. You know what I mean? Making stuff up is part of what we do. It's not like I like you or anything, Bacta. Oh my god. Stop it. I do enjoy this banter, but I also am slowly dying due to it. Okay. Cool. So, we've got the RSTs, our new thing, which is great. We're like they're in the canon now for Imperial security droids, so I'm adding those. I imagine the art tells you all you need to know about the RST series. Like look at them. Their little Imperial shoulder insignias and their red eyes and their Stormtrooper-esque helmet looking thing. The little lamps in the chest section. I mean, this particular RST is kind of overgrown, but you know, if they were all shined up and stuff, that'd be pretty intimidating, like really intimidating. So one of the things that we need to think about. I don't imagine today's prep stream is going to be particularly long. I will tell you that right off the bat. I'm imagining like an hour, hour and a half max. Because what we need to do now and what we can work on generally is assuming they get through all of that stuff, which they will because they will. Assuming they get through all of that stuff, the next thing that's kind of on the docket is being led into the jungle by a bounty hunter they threatened. So, you know, uh, I gotta think about like how are we gonna play this? Like what do we do with Takeda, the Ithorian bounty hunter, who's had a day to prepare and assumedly some sort of relationship with the Fog Wardens that uh is not antagonistic. Um my thought here is that he just like he leads them into the jungle into a trap, right? Like at best he leads them somewhere where there's nothing. You know what I mean? He leads them to like the last known location of the Fog Warden's camp. Here it is. But there's nothing there, you know? That's like at best. At worst, it's like I know where there's a den of Vodian shrikes, and I will lead you into their nesting area and have them harry the shit out of you from above while I take cover in the woods and shoot at you. You know what I mean? Like, kind of stuff. Like, it's sort of, it's not their best idea. They threaten a person into guiding them somewhere. It's like, okay, well, he doesn't like you. Yeah, you know. Mabel did offer to help the wardens, though. Yeah. That's fair, but it's also one of those situations where it's like Kryno clearly wants to shoot them, you know what I mean? There's a choice to make that might depend on the roleplay, for sure. I just want to have, like, some options. The other thing is we may have to, like, stat up, we might have to stat up Pana Kata, like, soon. Because it looks like they're not going to hold off. You know what I mean? That they're gonna go for it when they can. I don't know if that'll be a fight, but I want to be ready for if Kryno does the whole like Han Solo shoot first as soon as she's seen. The other thing we have to think about is like what is her quote unquote like imperial identity, because once Mabel knows the like, you know, the identity of this person, then the identity of the Fog Wardens in general will be known. Because Mabel has those records, right? Or like knows the medical records of every person who was stationed on this, you know, planet, basically. Yeah, I mean, her imperial identity is going to be a TK number and like some details about her your rank, stuff like that. It's not like a big deal, but you know, you want to have it like ready. She was like all wardens a stem trooper, exactly. She was one of those tested few stormtroopers in the early days, taking Fog of War to make them more combat effective. And got addicted because that's what happens. Pirate Captain or Master Hunter in the adversary section is a good base for Pana. Yeah, I was thinking that myself, actually, looking through. I was looking through it like yesterday or the day before. I probably just crib a whole bunch of stuff from one of the big adversary tune MSI in the book. Yeah. So I think, with Takeda, it's gonna depend on how they roleplay with him, I think, moving forward. I think he's kind of in a like, well, I'll lead them into the jungle and so what at this point, because he knows that if he leads them in, like, the wardens aren't gonna just be there. You know, we've built up this mystique around these characters that they're not slackers. You know what I mean? They're not gonna get caught with their pants down. They're incredibly useful, or incredibly skillful. and unlikely to get like caught. I think we should prepare for a few scenarios with the RP. I mean, just talking it over makes it easier for me, right? I don't think I need to write anything down for this in particular. I think there's plenty of possibility. The other thing is, like, because they're going in to look for the Fog Wardens have already been watching them, right? Like, we set that up in episode 1, right? Where there was a figure watching them. And like, I basically think that means they're not going to get the drop on them at any kind of scenario. I mean, Takada's going to play along because obviously he doesn't want to get, like, in bad with the Yutiko, which is basically what what Kryno suggested he would do to Takada should he fail to deliver. But also, like, yeah, he could easily just give them what they want, lead them to where the Fog Wardens are, then wait for the Fog Wardens to, like, do stuff. I haven't really determined, it's funny. I think for him to have survived the encounter with them, he has to have made some kind of deal with them. Right, Fidane. Like, for Takada to have survived the combat encounter with the Fog Wardens, unlike the 11 previous bounty hunters, as mentioned by Keld earlier in the series, he has to have made some kind of deal. So I think he's probably on good terms. And that deal is probably a spying kind of deal, or like a smuggling kind of deal, because the Fog Wardens need supplies. They're not inhuman. They can't just, like, live on nothing. You know what I mean? And the jungle provides some things, but it's also incredibly dangerous, and there are things like stim packs and, simple quote unquote, like, complicated medicine and weaponry and what have you that are, you're gonna need energy packs for or whatever. Yeah, I mean, I think maybe the Fog Wardens do want to talk. I would love to have that conversation between, like, Mabel and them based on the whole, like, can we get some medicine out here? But then there's the whole, are you willing to fly in the face of authority to do that? And like, the Wardens, I don't imagine they can really pay you for that, like, with anything particular. Maybe some, like, ruins locations or some knowledge about the jungle in general or that kind of thing. But I don't imagine they have, like, stacks of credits, you know what I mean? Like, just lying around. So we'd have to figure out like, what can the Wardens trade? They can offer significant violence. Yeah. They can bring to bear quite a powerful, if small, force. That got caught as a link for some reason, just some coyote, but I like that idea. If they don't get the information about the Star Destroyer from the chip, then the Fog Wardens also know where it is. Because if they don't look at the data chip that they're getting for Bohusak, they won't know what it's for. Because if you don't read it or put it into a computer or something, then you can't tell what it's about. Yeah, I think, I like what you're saying here, Drummer Boy. The like, if the warden's already watching, maybe Takada's main thing is to get Mabel to them for some first aid, and the rest of the group is just there as far as Takada and the wardens are concerned. That's true, but Kryno, in particular, has expressed interest in claiming the bounty on the Fog Warden's leader. Like that has been expressed to Takada. Like Takada knows that's what he's after because that's what he came asking about. So there's this whole catch-22 where it's like one of them in the party is kind of like suspicious and threatening, and one of them has offered assistance. And I don't even know if that assistance is necessarily genuine. It's really difficult to plan this. You know what I mean? Because it basically depends on the players, and then I have to just be like, okay, well, were the Fog Wardens watching? Okay, did they get led in? Okay, what's the general vibe of like the situation at the moment with Takada? Who would speak to them if they were being spoken to? Because like I'm imagining it's not gonna be Panakata. Like no way are they just gonna like, is their leader just gonna like bust out and do it herself? Like not a chance. But then also there's the whole like maybe that is what she does. There's like 40 of them maximum, like 40 to 50 of them maximum. So is she the kind of leader who would like negotiate that herself? You know? It's a whole thing. I almost want to lead them into like a grove full of Pana decoys. Like the mushrooms that are like the bleeding mushrooms, the like white, red, spotted ones. And then have them go from there. You know what I mean? Like do like a House of Mirrors thing where like the voice comes out of the fog and the area, but you don't know where she's hiding, and there are like 10 or so visible at this distance through the fog, like mushrooms that are wearing, or not wearing, but are like colored, have the same coloration as she does. So like her standing would be almost identical. House of Mirror Shrooms sounds very cool, yeah. So, Bud Prince, you wrote me a mushroom for this, if I remember correctly. I have to find the details of that mushroom. Where is it? Yeah, the leech blooms. Here we go. Okay. So, here's what we're talking about. Decoys made from leech blooms. I love this idea. Same type of mushroom Panakata wears camo of, standing at human height, reshaped to resemble a person in the fog, and equipped with a repainted fungal wood machete spear. When the machete spear is disturbed, it triggers a trap, opening the mushroom and spreading deadly leech ooze. Custom-grown trap left behind by the Fog Wardens to greet foolhardy bounty hunters. It's pretty cool. For those of you who haven't seen Panakata, let me grab her. I feel like I had... did I put the art for her in here? I didn't. The art for her, I believe, is on our wiki. For her. Yeah, it's on the wiki. Let me grab it. If you search Desperate Gamble Wiki on Google, the first hit is Madame Hirani, by the way. just in case people were curious. Yeah, here we go. See? Got some of that old Stormtrooper white in there, but the Leech Bloom colors, the red, the like mushroom cap helmet. Looks great. It's pretty great. So yeah, if we base our traps, our decoys on that and the Leech Blooms. So there's some stuff about the Leech Bloom mushroom here. Let's actually, maybe we should make an addition for this. Just because having it in my folder will be far easier. I need a new section, I think. In my handouts probably. Let's add a subfolder that is plant life. Because we also have some like other stuff regarding that. We'll put it next to wildlife, and no, it's its own category. There we go. And we'll add a handout to it for Leech Bloom mushrooms. Leech Blooms. And then I'm gonna steal your artwork for the header here. Butt prints, if you don't mind. Obviously, I ask your permission, but this is such a great picture. I want it. And then I'll put that here. Oh, did that not work? Oh, it did. Okay, great. Wonderful. Let's just grab what Butt Princess wrote about Leech Blooms and put it in here because I think it's really good. The mushroom that Panakata's camo cape is based on, like all the mushrooms the Fog Wardens themselves style themselves after, is highly dangerous in its own right. Leech Bloom grows peacefully unless disturbed, at which point it opens dramatically and flings fist-sized droplets of blood-red ooze in all directions. If these ooze droplets do not directly land on a warm-blooded creature, they will creep towards them for up to 3 hours after release. The ooze droplets are semi-sentient and extremely sticky, capable of climbing on any surface. Once an ooze has found a target, it'll latch onto them and begin draining blood. The blood loss, though dangerous, is not the primary threat. The droplets mix their ooze with the blood drained and re-inject it into the victim. This process is known as oosmosis, and this process, known as oosmosis, begins a terrifying transformation within the host. Should the ooze's infection remain untreated, the host's blood, sweat, and tears are replaced by deep red ooze. Once in this state, the host feels a strange longing to find a secluded and suitable for mushroom growth area. Once they are alone, they will fully transform into a new Leech Bloom mushroom. Only the skeleton is left untouched by this grim process, and so cutting open a Leech Bloom will often reveal a gruesome prize. How fucking cool is that? It's like a scary, scary thing. They're like they're like a zombie fungus. Very dangerous. Become mushroom. So we're just gonna grab that. We'll probably have to talk about the ooze in general, if they do touch any of these things. Because we'll have to talk about, like, mechanically what are we looking at. You know what I mean? Like, because it sounds real nasty. Yeah, we'll have to figure out like a condition for Leech Blooms. But I definitely think the Hall of Mushroom Mirrors is the way to have this conversation for sure. And what we'll do is we'll have Takeda say he's gonna lead them to where the camp is. You know what I mean? But they won't be there, and then he's gonna lead them like deeper into the jungle, like deep enough that we'll have them start worrying about their oxygen supply a little bit. You know what I mean? The whole, like, if you fuck up at any point during this conversation, you may have to breathe some fog on your way back, kind of thing. Like, you know, Takeda knows they could make it, but they couldn't make it if they wanted to, like, carry a wounded team member back or something like that. We'll kind of like push the envelope on it. Not to say they can't make checks, not to say they can't, fix it in other ways, obviously. But I want to present this as very dangerous, like potentially very dangerous. Move that back over here. Also, yeah, the idea that there's a skeleton inside the mushrooms is very, very gross. And very helpful for like scanners and infrared, yeah. They're cool. Yeah, they're very, very cool. Okay, so I think we have an idea of what we're gonna do with Panakata. I'm hoping that they don't, triumph for perception check and like figure it out and shoot her. But if they do, I think I'm gonna have her retreat. I don't want to fight them with her at this point, especially if Mabel is offering medicine. Oh, definitely butt prints. Yeah, we give them several checks because it's like you can get rid of the ooze, you can dodge the ooze, you can scrape it off, you can get a constitution. Could be non-lethal fight. I think based on the leech blooms, the fight would become lethal very quickly, just because like they are very poisonous. You know what I mean? In their own way, and like if you want to fight near them, you're gonna have to worry about that. I would make environmental, problems for them as they fought in a grove full of these things. It would be very, very bad for them. And by the way, this isn't Panakata's like official meeting place, if you know what I mean, because we have talked about her having a well kept like garden out there in the woods, out there in the jungle somewhere. This is not that. This is just an ambush point. Yeah, I'll have them use some xenology or something, just some coyote, and see if they can determine the nature of the mushrooms in front of them. That kind of stuff. Because that would be a good reason not to initiate a fight, for sure. The other thing is I'm gonna definitely, like, if they want a perception check, like, the area around, we're going to have some stealth fog wardens watching, obviously, from various other directions, dressed in their own colors, kind of hidden in the undergrowth, just in case, I imagine weaponry-wise, yeah, I mean, they've got their, like, glaives, as well as probably some slug throwers. Yeah, I mean, it's just like dump them in this grove and then ditch is the Takeda move, I think, here. And then hope that it all works out one way or another for Takeda. One way being they all die, the other being being that they make some kind of agreement too, and now we don't need to fight anymore. As Takeda like legs it back to back to what do you call it? Back to Vote City. So one of the things they could offer to our dear wardens is the Bacta that they get from the ruins. That Bacta would be incredibly valuable to the fog wardens, if it could be transported, or like even if they leave it behind in the ruins. If they tell the fog wardens where it is, that would also, I think, be suitable. You know what I mean? Like, if they can't figure out how to move a whole tank of Bacta, just telling the fog wardens where it is probably fairly valuable. The other thing is, like, it's going to depend on what they ask for, I think. When it comes to like what the fog wardens can offer, I don't want to put on the table like the Fog Wardens can give this, 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 and this, because I actually think it's more like, what do the players want? What do the players ask for in return? Are the Fog Wardens capable of that? Yes. You know what I mean? Like, I want to give them kind of a yes and with the reward, you know? If they're like, we want to know more about the Force Ruins, done. We can do that. You want to know more about where to find parts for Imperial droids, done. We can do that, you know? You want credits, we can do that. I mean, we won't offer that. And the other thing is, yeah, unless they ask about Prince, I'm not gonna offer anything. I'm gonna just be like, you're doing this because you're fucking stuck here. And obviously there's gonna be some talk about Utico and just like generally the like Fog Warden politics, as it were, because that can't be avoided. If you're working with the Fog Wardens or for the Fog Wardens in any way, Utico is not gonna like it. Do you know what fog does to a human? Yeah, that kind of stuff, for sure. Definitely. Here, let me show you. Corpse tumbles out of the woods, like wrenched open at the lung section. Oh yeah, anything about the Vodian jungle they would know about Prince for sure. It's like you know, it's like a superpower, right? They're like the rangers of this world. They know the land better than anyone else. They have adopted the land, you know, as their own. Anything they wanted to know about the locale, I'm sure the Fog Wardens could share. Okay. I think we're in a good zone here. When it comes to the Leech Blooms, if they end up fighting in that valley, my plan is if they maneuver, they have to make a coordination check to avoid touching one of the Leech Blooms or like disturbing one. Basically, just like the movement actions will be based on you have to move past or near these things. It's kind of unavoidable. So I'd have them make checks based on their movement. For if the Leech Blooms like activate or spew their gross ooze. Cool. Okay, so make there be 11 Leech Blooms because there are 11 bounty hunters. Oh, I see what you're saying, but Prince. I see what you're saying. I like that. That's not bad, you know? That's not a bad little detail. I like that. Good tie-in. Stealing that detail. Put that in. Do we want to give stats to Takeda in case PCs try and kill him before the ambush? I've been running my stats by just entering the dice I need, mostly. Like, I have stats in my brain for these characters a lot of the time. And then I'll just be like, all right, well, you know, it's Takeda, so he has like 2 yellows and a green on, you know, on survival. Roll it, and then just like resolving it that way rather than making like a whole character sheet for the character. I kind of just do it through the GM dice at the moment, which I think is like slightly more efficient for me. And allows me to just like manipulate things as necessary. If there were going to be like a big boss fight, I would note it all down just to be fair. You know what I mean? Like Panakata will eventually need stats. I don't think she'll need them this time, but she might if they go after her again. People like Zalarax and Jandervix need stats, these kinds of things. How do Destiny dice work, by the way? Can you like cancel out triumphs or something? So if I use a dark side die, let me explain this to you real quick. So if I use a dark side die, if my character has 3 greens, right? If I use a dark side die, suddenly I can up to green yellow. You know what I mean? Alternately, if they're doing a check and I want to make it harder, I can just say I use dark side die. Suddenly it's one red, one purple, instead of just one purple. You know, these kinds of things. Basically, I can just increase the difficulty using my dark side points. In the same way that they can increase their chances of success by using their light side points. They can increase their skill. I can use my dice in the same way they can, just the opposite, basically. Might be something to make it harder for them to like spot Pana, etc. I mean, I imagine she's gonna be at least adversary 2, which means like checks against her are harder. Let me pull it up here. So if we based her, just generally, let me open my book here, on an NPC in the book. Let me just find my section for NPCs. Here we are. We would start with, and I think what Rafidane said makes sense, start with either Master Hunter in the Bounty Hunter section, which is basically like a really, adept bounty hunter. Because they are Nemesis level, they have Adversary 2, which is upgrade difficulty of all combat checks against this target twice. So shooting at them from a medium distance, shooting at a regular person from a medium distance would be 2, or is it 3? I think it's 3 for medium distance. It's 2 for short distance. Oh no, it's 1 for short distance, 2 for medium distance. My brain, I will remember when it's important. But so like, if it were 2 purple to shoot at her from a medium distance, because she has Adversary 2, it's 4 purple to shoot at her. All checks that Pana makes or are made against her have 2 upgrades if Adversary 2. Oh, is it to 2 red rather than to 4 purple? Am I not right about that? Is it turns into reds? That's also good. I would just have to check my adversary section. How much does the fog hinder shooting again? It's a circumstance. It's a two circumstance bonus for longer distance shooting. It's 2 reds. All right. Well, there you go. I don't know everything, obviously. So heavy fog, dense fog, is a 2 negative circumstance bonus. So it's 2 black die on the dice pool if you're shooting like into fog. It would be that. Got it, Rafidane. Yeah. That makes sense. I just, the upgrades versus the adding die thing is something that I'm not entirely adept at yet, for sure. So instead of purples, we would have reds. And reds are bad. Reds are very, very bad. Look at all these failure dice. If we're doing like Kryno's shooting skill against Pana at a medium distance through dense fog. Triumph, because it's Kryno. Kryno rolls a triumph every fucking time. You guys can't see it because it's cut off a little bit at the bottom, but there it is. See, that was the roll I just made. Oh, I also had an upgrade in there, which wasn't necessary, but never punished, always triumph. Kryno always rolls a triumph every time. Okay, on the third roll, it was a failure when I'm not upgrading dice for no reason. I keep rolling. All right, 3 failures. All right, that one was big successes. Basically, what I'm saying is, like, it will be harder. It's not impossible, but it's harder. Oh, yeah, I don't think they'll see him again if that's the case on original poster. Kryno Triumph Valis. Yeah, fucking Kryno. I was pretty impressed by the wrestle with Zalarex and get a triumph. But you know what? I think it's even better that he like succeeded there, because now I think he's got an underestimation of that character. He's got It's got a little bit of an underestimation, but I do like that his response was, "I love her." so, so that's fun. The Roll20 gods are pleased with Chrono, but hate Aabria at every point. Yep. That's how it works. The random dice. Okay. Well, I think we're in a good zone, friends, for next session. I'm very excited to see how the roleplay shakes out, and how we manage to get all that sorted. Getting into the nitty gritty of spooky forest, spooky jungle wardens is pretty great. And also finishing off our Imperial bunker here, which should be pretty fun. We'll see how RST3 shakes out as a combat encounter. And see if they want to keep them alive, because it's a whole thing. Imagining the Warden's theme is a lot of violence. Yeah, I don't know. Stick around, obviously, tomorrow. Make sure you're here when the show starts tomorrow to hear the new theme tune from Drummer Boy. Because it is available. It is coming. Oh, I've ruined my Zoom. Hang on one sec. Let's go to this screen. Yeah, there we go. So new Drummer Boy theme song for Desperate Gamble tomorrow. It's the first time you'll hear it. Stuff about me, I guess. I'm Distracted Elf. You can find me at twitch.tv/DistractedElf or on Twitter at DistractedElf when I'm not doing stuff here for Roll20. Either doing this GM stream, or doing GM stuff for Desperate Gamble, or doing GM stuff for Rime of the Frost Maiden. There's a lot of stuff, that we're doing. The other thing is, Bud Prince mentions it in chat. I'm getting there. Bud Prince. I've been doing writing streams on my regular channel for like content on Tuesdays. And we actually managed to publish our very first book, 17-page PDF on the DMs Guild yesterday for some 5e content. It's called The Distracted Elf's Guide to Otherworldly Patrons. Yeah, Ginger's got it. Thank you, Ginger. And it is pay what you want. Download it if you like. It's about Warlock stuff. And getting some more details on like your patron specifically. Because a lot of them are like, you are pacted to a fiend. But then you're like, well, what fiend? Or like, you work with the Archfey and that's how you get your power. It's like, well, what Archfey? Like, tell me. So we sort of, me and chat on Tuesdays filled that in, and now we've got some stuff out there, and we're planning to keep doing stuff for that on Tuesdays. So if you want to subscribe to my personal stream, we're gonna keep doing that sort of writing on Tuesdays. And I think our next thing for that is gonna be magic items and spells related to the patrons in the first thing that we did. So that'll be fun. But yeah, please, I keep looking obsessively at the counter of like how many downloads it has, and it was at like 96 when I looked last. So we're very close to 100 downloads on the Distracted Elf's Guide to Otherworldly Patrons. Yeah. Anyway, that's it for me. Now, Roll20. If you like playing tabletop games with your friends on the internet, but, you don't have a table that's like 300 miles wide to, put miniatures on so that you can all engage on that together, Roll20 provides you with a virtual tabletop on which you can place said virtual miniatures over whatever distance you might please. So, sign up today for free at www.roll20.net and play some tabletop games with your friends. Whether it be Dungeons & Dragons or Star Wars Edge of the Empire or whatever the heck else tabletop you want to do. Even if you just want to roll some dice and see who rolls the highest. That's all that you can do that with Roll20 if you want to. Sign up for free and make an account and join Roll20. Yeah. Okay, cool. That's all I got. It wasn't my best Roll20 promotion, but I wasn't ready. Which is weird because I do them at the end of every show. You'd think I'd be ready. That's it for me for today, friends. I know it's a short one, but we just needed to get our ducks in a row. There wasn't too much to prepare. I think next week will be a little more substantial. And I'll see you then. Bye.